What if I told you that a person who has written one of the most influential financial books or finance related books was constantly broke, and he was in debt most of his life, broke most of his life, and not just that, he also went to jail for market fraud during his life, even after publishing this book? This person has mentored two US presidents according to his own biographers, and still, this is the reality of his life. His own biographers admit that he was broke most of his life, he had a lot of legal troubles, and not just that, he constantly was in debt. So I have been researching on this one topic for the last 2 or 3 months, and finally I have enough information. I dug through everything that I could find, and it was a rabbit hole the more I got into it. And it's not that I have not read this book earlier. This is the book which we are talking about, and the person who we are talking about is Napoleon Hill, the writer of Think and Grow Rich. If you search on Google for wealth related books, that is finance and wealth or entrepreneurship and wealth, you are going to find this book recommended to you, Think and Grow Rich. And even when you read the book, I have read this book long time ago, and I have read this again for the research of this topic, and even when you read the book, you won't, it feels innocent, but the people who have actually studied this topic, they are saying that this is one of the greatest self-help scammers of all time. That's what people are saying, people who have studied in depth into the book. Before you start putting hate comments down there, first hear me out. I will give you all the research that I have done, and this is backed by research from big law firms, from big media houses that who have done all these kinds of research, and I'll put all the links, everything in the description so that you can also study it. So this is something that is shocking, because even when I read this book initially during my initial entrepreneurship phase, I never thought that this would be the background of this book. The book is so bad that once you understand what I'm saying, you will say that, oh, this was definitely the greatest scam of all time. So let's start at the beginning. Why is this a scam, and why people are calling this a scam? Now, before we get into the actual law of attraction, you have to understand where this law of attraction teaching is coming from. You have to understand that where is this initial teaching, or where is the seed for this. So it actually comes from something called the New Thought movement. New Thought movement was initially, it's kind of like positive thinkings are going to attract healing. Basically, that's what the gist of it is. So let me refer to my notes. So what the New Thought movement says is that we and everything in existence is having a divine nature inside us, and that means that we can command things into existence. That is, things like you can heal yourself. Suppose if I have a hearing problem, I can just command that to go. This was the initial thinking of New Thought movement. The positive thinking has power to carry forward the faith manifestations into the material world. That is, due to your faith, that is, you're commanding something into existence, that can actually bring forth healing. That is the New Thought movement. This was very popular in the 18th century, the starting of the 18th century. So the father of the New Thought movement is said to be Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. So in 1802 to 1866, he wrote a number of books. He wrote a lot of details about the healing that he has got. When you look into Quimby's life, he was an American clockmaker, and he was interested in curing people with the power of the mind. That's what New Thought movement advocates, and all this was documented in Quimby's manuscripts. So that's the first start where we see this. Now all this was dedicated to healing, that is, some kind of body ailments, things like that. That is what was done till now. In 1910, Wallace D. Wettels wrote The Science of Getting Rich. This was an adaptation to the New Thought movement. Before, it was thought that you can only manifest your body, or you can only heal your body. So why not manifest material things? Why can't we manifest material things? And that's what was bought in the Science of Getting Rich, in that book. This was published in 1910. Further expanding on this idea, Napoleon Hill came out with the Law of Success. This was written in 1925, published in 1928. You will understand why it is so as I go deeper into this video. Further improving on these concepts, he published Think and Grow Rich in 1937. Now, when you search for books on wealth, this is the book that is recommended to you on Google. That is something that you have to understand. This is not actually science or scientifically proven, because what it talks about is law of attraction. It still is rooted in the New Thought movement, in which you are going to manifest things just by thinking about it, just by imagining or working on it. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not saying that you shouldn't aspire to things. That's not what this book says. The book actually is disguised as a very big deception, because it gives you social proof in one form. It says that the entire book is laid out as if it was an interview with the world's richest man at that time, Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie is the center figure of the Think and Grow Rich book, and it's shown as if he is the one who is giving you all these ideas. And because of the social proof that Andrew Carnegie has, if Napoleon Hill was giving you all this, you would look into Napoleon Hill's background. But this is the deception of Think and Grow Rich. All this is said to be coming from Andrew Carnegie, and if you research Andrew Carnegie, he is a genuine businessman. He was one of the richest people alive. So you will definitely think, oh, if he's saying it, then I will take it at face value. That is the deception of this book. Now, Napoleon Hill claims that he was entrusted the task of writing this book after he met with Andrew Carnegie. Now, conveniently, this book is published after Andrew Carnegie's death, and that's when all this accusations, which I would say, or allegations were made that he had met, even though Andrew Carnegie's own biographer said that nothing like this ever happened. There is no proof. Now, let's see who Napoleon Hill was to be entrusted such a big task. Andrew Carnegie is the richest man on the planet at that time, and he gave Napoleon Hill this task, that you have to write these things. And not just that, you are going to interview 200 of the richest people, most successful people around the globe, around America, and you are going to get all the details from them, the secrets of the rich, and you are going to publish it in this book. Now, Andrew Carnegie, being the richest man on the planet, he can hire the best person for this. Why would he choose Napoleon Hill? There has to be something special in him, right? So let's see who Napoleon Hill actually is, because if you look at his past, then you will understand who he really is, and that should give you an idea of, is this even possible? So let's examine Hill's life in detail. Let's see where he came from. In 1907, this is 30 years before Think and Grow Rich was published, he co-founded the Acre Hill Lumber Company in Mobletown in Alabama, USA. In 1 year, this company was closed with criminal and bankruptcy charges, proceedings, and filed against Mr. Hill. This is filed against Mr. Hill himself. What exactly happened? Why was this company closed? So Hill got the lumber from outside Mobile town and at a higher price on credit, and he bought all this lumber. He sold it at a cheaper cost in cash, and this was to capture the market, maybe, or what was he doing? I don't know what was his business idea behind this, but this was what he was doing. You can't buy a thing on credit and then sell it at a lower price for cash. So he was basically trying to make money really quick, get rich quick, and basically the market caught on to this, and he was run out of the market, and he was caught. He was, basically he had to run away from there. So this was the first entrepreneurship experience that Hill had, the first documented one. There are a lot of things he did before which were also scams, and there, we are only going through the highlights of his life right now. Now this was the time that, according to Hill's own biographers, he had talked with Andrew Carnegie, and according to Andrew Carnegie's biographer David Nasaw, there is no evidence of this meeting between Andrew Carnegie and Napoleon Hill. But let's assume that this meeting happened. Now, after this meeting, what did Hill do? He should be, getting all this knowledge from such a influential person as Andrew Carnegie. Now, even if Andrew didn't help him a bit with any other thing, but just with his advice, he should be able to find something which is really good. The next entrepreneurship venture should be really solid, right? So what happened next? In 1909, Hill started Automobile College of Washington. This was supposed to be a college that teaches students to build, drive, and sell cars. In reality, it was just a way to get free labor to build cars and sell them. The Motor World magazine in 1912 called Hill's College a scam. Now this is a direct quote from the magazine. All this sort of thing is very much a joke to anyone with average intelligence. And there are more funny things happening at this college. Like an MLM, this college paid you $3 for every person you recruited, every student you recruited. And finally, these kind of things don't work out. So in 1912, the college shut down. Obviously, Hill was again, charged with a lot of things, and he ran away. So let's think, okay, maybe one time again he made a bad venture. So next, what did he do? In 1915, Hill established the George Washington Institute of Advertising. George Washington Institute of Advertising. What it did was totally different. This was supposed to be a place where people were taught the principles of success and self-confidence. By 1918, just 3 years later, June, there were 2 warrants for Napoleon Hill's arrest for violating the Blue Sky law that deals with market and securities fraud. What was happening in this college is basically securities fraud or market fraud. Hill set up this college showing $100,000 capitalization and tried to sell the shares of this college to investors, mostly the students of the college. The assets of the school were only $1,200. So this is a fraud because you don't have the capitalization, you are inflating the value and then you are trying to sell the shares. So obviously this is not going to work, and later, when he scammed enough people got caught onto it. 2 warrants were issued, and all this is documented. I'll show links in the description for all this. Now the funny thing is, even the official biography of Napoleon Hill skips these years. There is no details of these years of his life, and this is the time that is skipped over for a reason, that he is constantly getting into trouble with the law in these years. That doesn't hold well with his entire image. So that's what was happening here, and that's the proof is in the papers. It's all over the news in that time. Let's go further. Hill claims that in 1917 to 1918 he was approached by the then president Woodrow Wilson. So this is the US president at that time, to serve the country for a significant amount of salary. He said he would work for free. Highly unlikely, but maybe. Okay, let's take that at face value. Now Hill claims that he was doing a lot of influential things in the White House, even though no one in the White House ever has any accounts of this. And what he says is, he was even the negotiations that was happening. The president was having negotiations with the surrender of Germany, for the surrender of Germany. In that also he was present. So okay, very good. Suddenly, how do you jump from a wanted villain, a wanted felon, to suddenly just becoming the aide to the president or the advisor to the president. And in fact, not just advisor, how Napoleon Hill's book put it, it seems that he's the one who is running the show, or he's like mentoring Woodrow Wilson. After this, Hill claims that all this time in the White House, it actually inspired him to start the next venture he did, which was a phenomenal flop, the Hill's Golden Rule magazine. And there were a lot of allegations on that also. All that I'll put in the description. It's gonna take too long, because if we go in detail about all these scams, then it's going to be just a hour long or 2 hour long video. Now after this is one president over. He also claims that he helped President Roosevelt a lot. So basically now he's saying that he has mentored 2 presidents, and the way he puts it is, many of the times president would ask him for advice. He also wrote a lot of his sayings. That's how Hill portrays it. Now even his own biographers are really skeptical about these parts, because you can see it in their writing. Even if we ignore all this past and let's say that it's a conspiracy, but there are some points which we can go through, reasons why this meeting never happened. The premise of the book, that is Andrew Carnegie meeting Napoleon Hill, that never happened. The reasons: 1, even though Hill says that they met in the early days of 1900, he never told this story to anyone till Andrew died. Once Andrew died, and this cannot be verified, that's when he started saying this story. So now if I got an interview with Bill Gates or with Elon Musk, everyone is going to know about it, because I will tell people about what information I got from him, right? Why would this be buried for more than 37 years? Nearly 37 years this was buried. There was no say of this for 37 years. Now if this was such an important meeting, Napoleon Hill would have written some things, and since he is saying that Andrew Carnegie mentored him and also opened ways to meet 200 of the richest people and all these things, then there has to be a paper trail there. There has to be letters, there has to be some written word, because other than that it won't work. Now what Napoleon Hill's statement is proof of Andrew Carnegie's meeting with him was a bunch of letters, but those letters were lost in a fire. How convenient. There were no copies of the letters, nothing, and all those letters were lost. Now contrary to popular belief, Andrew Carnegie did write a lot. In fact, he wrote a few books. One is the nearest one to Think and Grow Rich. That time period is A Gospel of Wealth by Andrew Carnegie. This was written by Andrew Carnegie. This was sanctioned by Andrew Carnegie. Now if you compare that, the persona of Andrew Carnegie in this book, it seems that he is a legit businessman, and that's how he talks, that's how everything is laid out. But if you look at the Andrew Carnegie presented in Think and Grow Rich, the conversation that is shown there, it feels like someone who is just giving out wishy-washy answers and basically supporting the law of attraction, which Napoleon Hill wanted to put out there. One is a good capitalist businessman, that's what we see in the Gospel of Wealth, and the second is a person who is basically turning into some sort of a guru, or that kind of statements are coming from him. Now that's not possible. One person cannot have these opposing ideas. It cannot be that he gives one statement to Napoleon Hill and another statement to his own book. Now Napoleon Hill's book Think and Grow Rich shows that Andrew Carnegie was a person who was fine with economic injustice in the world, and he had no pity for the poor. This is a quote from the book. Understand the truth and you will know that there is no injustice in connection with the difference between the fortunes which men accumulate. They are where they are, and they are drowning in the wages they receive solely on the limitations set up in their own minds. So basically, law of attraction being professed there, and saying that how you think, your thinking is the one that is hindering you. Now compare this to Gospel of Wealth, which is Andrew Carnegie's own book. Under the law of competition, the employer of thousands is forced into the strictest economies among which the rates paid to labor figure permanently, and often there is friction between the employer and the employed, between capital and labor, between rich and poor. So this is the actual capitalist view. They don't have an evil thinking towards a labor group, but they know that there is going to be a difference in how much they are compensated, and that's by design. It's not just because they want to be evil. That is by design. The company has to work, and then only the labor force will be able to get employment. So that is what is said here. This is totally two different ideologies coming from the same person in the span of maybe a year or so. That's not likely. That is not highly likely until unless Andrew Carnegie totally changed his belief in 1 year and he has totally left capitalism again. But there are other books that Andrew Carnegie has wrote after this period also that actually shows the same thinking. That is, Andrew Carnegie in his books seems like a person who is a good capitalist, a person who talks about business. He doesn't just talk about luck, mindset, all these things. He thinks that you need certain systems in place, all of these business thinkings that is shown there. Now this has to be a shock to most people. I understand that, because this is not something which we were expecting. Even I was shocked when I started getting into this thing. I was thinking that maybe it is wrong, maybe this is some kind of bad information, or maybe this is all kinds of conspiracies going on. But the more I got into it, I dug into it far and deep, and the more I got into it, the information was rock solid. Napoleon Hill has been really cunning, and this is basically the first OG Lamborghini that Ty Lopez showed in his videos here in my Lambo, or here in my garage, whatever the hell that was. This is the basic same social proof system that Napoleon Hill used, and in fact he used it to another level in a very cunning way. He actually shielded himself, creating a fake meeting between a person he never saw possibly, and even if he saw, this is not Andrew Carnegie's words. This is disguised as Andrew Carnegie's words so that you don't question it, because Andrew Carnegie has all the social proof. You will just accept it without even thinking. If this was coming from Napoleon Hill, you would never accept it, because you dig into his background, you understand, this is not a person who can be trusted. This is basically a scammer. But this was the deception that was by design. So all this social proof was given, and Napoleon Hill only sits there as an interviewer. You won't question Napoleon Hill because he is just an interviewer. All this is coming from Andrew Carnegie. You are only going to dig into Andrew Carnegie. But if you had done even a little reading about Andrew Carnegie, you would understand that all this is not something that he supported. I don't think he would ever support, and if his ghost could come here, he would say that, I never met him. It's far unlikely that this is coming from the same person. Now I'm sharing all this with my own freedom of speech, and basically this is just my opinions. I don't want any problems with anyone. If you still don't believe me, I'm just putting out my thinking out here, my research which I've done, and I will link articles in the description that will give you more details. Gizmodo wrote a really good article behind this, and some of these things, most of these things are there. You will see details of that. They have done digging far more than where I could have reached. You would see details of that. And this is from Andrew Carnegie's biography. This is from the newspapers, tabloids, all these things. I'll leave links in the description for you to go through so you can understand. This is just my opinion. If you still wanna go into the book, or just follow the book blindly, you can do that. But the articles, the things that are said in the book, that don't work. It is more of a pseudoscience. There is no proof according to me. You need tangible proof. Business is not just about thinking and just thinking and things are going to manifest. Of course not. You have to have systems in place. No matter what you do, no matter how much I think that I have to get my taxes done, I have to my taxes has to be filed, until unless I go and employ a person, a tax accountant, who will file my taxes for me, that is not going to work. I cannot file my taxes just by thinking. I have to, if I'm doing it, I have to do it. Same way, a business is not just wishing that I have a successful business and earning money and wealth is more about strategies, systems in place, and that's what I have learned the hard way. There is no shortcuts in this. It's all systems, knowledge, and tangible systems, basically things that can be measured. These things which are said in this book, they cannot be measured. It's more of like a motivation, or all these pseudosciences which are there, that's not going to get the bills paid. At the end of the day, you're your own boss. You can do whatever you want, but this was just something to get you aware of the things behind this, because I was shocked myself when I started digging into it. The more I got into it, the more I was shocked, because this is possibly the title of the article which I'm sharing. That is true. This is the biggest scam artist of all time, because till now, even today, people are not willing to believe that this is the reality. If you have any comments, suggestions, questions, anything you want to add to this conversation, your points, whatever, put them in the comments below. If you have any topic requests, leave them in the comments below as well. Like, share, subscribe. This has been Jace for TopEvt. I'll see you in the next video.